Well, James, can you first explain what is the role of your office? What do you do there?
Sure. We're the Greater New Orleans Fair Housing Action Center, and we investigate housing discrimination across the Greater New Orleans metropolitan area. It's illegal to engage in discrimination based on a person's race, their color, their national origin, religion, sex, disability, or the fact that a family has children. So we look at issues that fall under that umbrella, and particularly individual issues. So if an individual landlord engages in discrimination, then we'll take on the case and investigate and perhaps file a lawsuit if we can prove discrimination. But we also look at bigger systemic issues. And so if a municipality or a large apartment complex or even the state or even the federal government engages in discrimination, then we'll step in and try to thwart that discrimination.
Post-Katrina, what are some of the bigger issues you are dealing with right now?
Well, the biggest problem is frankly that systemic discrimination that I've described, because what we've seen is that federal, well, not so much federal, but legislative bodies have attempted to legislate discrimination, if you will. So, for example, St. Bernard Parish passed an ordinance that we call the blood relative ordinance, and that ordinance stated that in order to rent a single-family home in St. Bernard Parish, you had to be a blood relative of the person who owned the home, right? And so, on its face, that sounds bad, of course, but it also ends up being discriminatory. And the reason is that 93% of homeowners in St. Bernard Parish are white. So the result is that African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans wouldn't be able to rent single-family homes in St. Bernard Parish. So they end up essentially legislating discrimination. So we step in and file a lawsuit against St. Bernard Parish and force them to remove that ordinance.
We thought that these kind of things wouldn't be happening in 2008. What's going on there?
Well, you know, that's exactly what we thought, but there's another case that makes clear just how egregious discrimination still is, particularly housing discrimination. After the storm, I got a call from someone who was looking for housing. He had gone to a website, and he saw some really troubling advertisements, and so he sends the advertisements over to me, and I take a look at them. And the first one that I read is from a website called katrinahousing.org, right? So it's set up to help evacuees. And it says, I would love to house a single mom with one child, not racist, but whites only, right? And so the idea that an advertisement that is that blatant would be placed on the internet when they're supposed to be trying to help evacuees is incredibly troublesome. But so I continue looking, and so I stop looking at the facts that he sends me, and I go to the website. And I end up putting together 30 pages of advertisements just like that all had all these kinds of discriminatory statements, hundreds and hundreds of ads. And then it turned out to not be simply that one website, but there were other websites. And in particular, there was a website called DHR Online, Disaster Housing Relief Online. And the problem with that website is that it was FEMA funded and FEMA sponsored. Right, so when an evacuee applied for housing assistance, if they did it online, then they would automatically be prompted to this website that, of course, had more discriminatory advertisements.
But it looked like it was endorsed by the federal government.
It not looked like it was. It
You're
was.
Like a boy sticking your thumb in the dike. I mean, how do you hold this stuff back?
Well, you know, you can't hold it all back, and that really became the problem for our office. We had at that time a very small staff, and we still do. But at that time, everyone's home had been damaged, if not destroyed by the hurricane, and so for the most part, folks said that they couldn't come back. So it was only the staff attorney and myself that agreed to return and to take on these housing discrimination issues. And so we had to make a conscious effort to let some of the smaller individual issues slide by and really focus on those systemic cases.